Welcome to Aussie Target Map. This is a quick intro to the ground side of ground control. For the setup for this video, I've got another computer running with a pilot navigating, and we're just going to quickly take you through the steps here to see what's going on. First thing you want to do is make sure your tracking is set up. So we open our tracking, and we can see here I've already got my pilot set up and tracking him happily. And you can see we've got all that information. We can see where he's navigating to and all that sort of stuff. So if I wanted to see where that waypoint is, I can draw that, turn it off. And if I come back here, I've got a little bit of a mess because I've been mucking around, but if I clear that track, we're back here. So this is where my pilot is tracking normally. Next thing we need to do for ourselves is go into settings, go to tracking. We're going to switch ourselves over to ground control. The upload rate jumps to 10 seconds and gets locked there. It will actually send data more frequently than that when it needs to, but for the moment it's on 10 seconds just to stay alive. We can change our retrieval rate, but we'll leave that at 1 second because you could be tracking other pilots at the same time as this. You have full functionality as if you're flying in a balloon. But at the moment, I've only got one computer running, so we're only tracking one pilot. So what we can do, we can leave this all here, or we can actually close it all down. So I'll turn him off, and now we've got no tracking information. So we go to Tools, down here to Ground Control, and it gives us this tool here. At the bottom of the form, in the settings area, we select our pilot and it will give us his tracking information up here. And we have the option to draw that waypoint, which is down here, task 8. We could center the map on it if we wanted to. And if I draw it, it comes back here. But for the moment, I can't do anything else. I can't change what's happening here. We've got that little blue line. That's all we've got. So what we need to do is hit play. At that point, it switches over to pretending we're the pilot. So we now have the feed from the pilot. We have all that information coming in. We get all this information. We even get rate of climb, which is going to be a little bit laggy, but it gives us an idea of what's going on. Again, if I draw that waypoint, I now have the waypoint here. I can select that and navigate to it. And now I'm in full navigation mode, exactly as the pilot would be seeing it, maybe 1 second behind. And we've got all that information. Now, because I've been, because I've already been playing with this, my wind reader's already filled up with a bit of flight winds information, but this would just populate as it normally would at the same rate that would populate for the pilot. What that means is for you on the ground, you can use tools like we've got the turn tool. That will show us what that looks like. We could use the descent tool. Again, we're only 600 feet in the air or 575 feet in the air. It's not going to give you much of a line, but it gives you that. So any of the tools that you wanted to use, whether it's elbows, angle tasks, land runs, all that sort of stuff, donut tools, you now have access to. The other tool that we've now got available in here is the cake tool as an example. So I could put that over here somewhere, get rid of our wind reading, and use the new cake tool. So for example, let's go number 3, let's edit some rings. We'll make this a pretty short little cake, make that 0.5. Save that, we'll select that waypoint. Got 2 layers, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet. Let's make it really short because we don't have 2,000 feet worth of data without going to a wind reading. But we can now say plan. Oops, we're taking that off the wind reading, take it off the flight winds. So we can plan that donut, for example. We can unlock it. We can then decide where on the flight path we're going to put it. say to our pilot, I really think you need to put that donut there. Or say we want to get into goal 8, we want to put the donut there and figure out how to get south to it. So we've got our donut set up, and now with our planning tool we can select our suggestion. Oops, sorry, my Wacom tablet's doing weird things. Select waypoint 7, and that is now pushing that waypoint to the pilot. So now we're going to switch the computers around so you can see what the pilot sees. Here we go. And like magic, we're back. So we're now on the pilot's computer, which strangely enough should probably look something similar to what we were looking at before. Here you go, he's navigating to task 8. Change his mind. Navigate back to task 7, whichever way you want to do it. So from the pilot's point of view, just so you know, we're in settings, tracking, we're tracking as a pilot. And all of our information is being uploaded as a pilot. If I go to my tracking window here, the difference is, at the moment I've got no one in ground control. If I go to my settings, and now Sean, who was the pilot before, is now ground control. I need to cycle that through until I get the little headset. So now I'm saying that this pilot is ground control, and you can see it appears in the list down here. So we close that, and now we've got him here. So if I open Sean, you can see that I've got no suggestions, and that's it. So from the pilot's point of view, that's the only thing he sees. Has that hiding up in the corner somewhere, and that's all he's seen. In the settings here, we've got a mode for auto draw, so that as soon as a suggestion comes in, it draws it on the map automatically. May or may not ever want that. And then we can also fine tune the appearance of the rings, because if there's any rings attached to the information that the pilots, that the ground crew control is sending, that will draw as well. So on the ground control computer, I'm going to make a suggestion of a fly on for a bit later in the flight. I've been looking at winds, I've been looking at the way this flight's playing out. On here, I'm going to select a waypoint, select fly on, and a moment later it turns up on the pilot's computer. So I've got suggested fly on task 9 at this location. As the pilot might go, okay, let's have a look at that. All I need to do is hit the button, and it appears on my map. So it's got all that information ready to go. It's got the range ring that the crew's already set up for me. If I go, yep, that makes sense, let's go with that, I may nominate to put that into my waypoint list. So I click on the waypoint list button, and that has now become one of my waypoints. And it turns off the view there. Now, if, for example, the crew is reassessing it and they're going, actually, I reckon you need to be a couple of 100 meters north to make this work, and they re-suggest that, then that has updated. They would call me on the radio and say it's updated. I can click on it, see where it is there. I might go in here and delete the old one and say, yeah, okay, I agree, let's put it further north, let's do that. And again, make that my waypoint. So that's what happens. Once the crew guy or the ground control clears their suggestion, that will disappear here, and that goes back to being nothing. That's my waypoint that I can navigate to and do whatever I want with, and away we go. Now, one of the other things as well, if I delete that again, I reselect it and suggest it here. So once I've got that on the screen and suggested, I can also navigate to that without permanently making it a waypoint. So as the pilot, I can quickly look at that, do some calculations, look at the distances, do whatever I want with it. And then once it disappears, it disappears. Okay. That is putting you a little bit more at the control of your ground crew, because if they change their mind or they move it or do something to you, it's going to mess you up. So I would say as a pilot, you would take control of that waypoint if you want to. Anyhow, that's the pilot side. Nice compact little window, and that's all you need to know.